Good morning. I'm here to give you another update on some of the activities the Six Nations Elected Council has been undertaking since our last update that was put on YouTube. I want to begin with the things that have been happening last week and the last couple of weeks that we've been involved in, and then I'll give an update on some of the issues that we've been following on. On May 2nd, as most people know, the National Chief of the Assembly of First Nations resigned from his position as the National Chief. And I think it was in light of the fact that he was in support of Bill C-33, which is the First Nations Control First Nations Education Act. And many of the chiefs across the country are not supportive of that bill because they don't find that it's really truly First Nations control, First Nations education, and doesn't recognize our jurisdiction to control our own education. Further to that, there was a Confederacy of Nations meeting which was called by some of the chiefs, and just for your information, that Confederacy of Nations is a body of the Assembly of First Nations which is included in its charter, in the AFN charter. And that body is based on representatives of one per region, which is in this case each province, and then one for every 10,000 citizens. That body called for a meeting on May 1st. They issued a call for that meeting, and then the National Chief resigned the next day. Nevertheless, the meeting went ahead on May 14th, and we took part in that. And what this body does is supposed to oversee issues and discussions in between annual General Assemblies. Since there had not been any national debate or discussion on this education bill, it was felt that it was important to go ahead with this meeting. So that meeting did take place in Ottawa on May 14th. The AFN executive did attend. Ghislaine Picard, who is the acting spokesperson for the AFN right now, was there as one of the co-chairs. Not all of the vice chiefs attended. Saskatchewan, BC, and New Brunswick were not there. On the second day of the meeting, Jody Wilson-Raybould, who is the vice chief for BC, attended and basically put forth the idea that maybe this bill could still be amended. What happened at the Confederacy of Nations meeting is that the Chiefs Committee on Education was suspended, and the Chiefs put in place a coordinating committee to continue discussions on the government. On that same day, we took part in a rally in Ottawa on Parliament Hill. I'm proud to say Six Nations was front and center. We had 4 buses up there. We were a loud and noisy group. We were talking about stopping Bill C-33, which is the First Nations Control First Nations Education Act, and also Bill C-10, which is the Contraband Tobacco Act. Many thanks to some of the manufacturers who helped fund some of the buses and pay for some of the costs for that. I was able to speak at that assembly, and Chris Green, who was there as a representative for some of the tobacco manufacturers, also spoke. Also during that week, we were there for the whole week. We did some lobbying on Bill C-10, or advocacy work, I should say, and we met with a number of senators, trying to get them to, when the bill does come to the Senate, because it's still not had third reading, it's still sitting in the House of Commons. We're anticipating that it may have discussion at the end of this month. And once it goes to third reading and then it goes to the Senate, we were imploring the Senate to have hearings so that we can appear as witnesses. We have Richard Paulus, who works for us in Ottawa, monitoring this and putting our name in so that we can make sure that we make a presentation. And again, when we do that, I will be looking for some people from the tobacco industry to join us. We're also looking to have what they call an open meeting with many senators, and Richard's working with Senator Nick Sibiston to organize that. And again, when we do that, we want to take a strong delegation with us. So those, in addition to the rally and the Senate meetings and the Confederacy of Nations meetings, it was a pretty busy week. We're now heading up into Ottawa for this week again for a special Assembly of First Nations, which is being held on May 27th to have a final decision on Bill C-33 and also to decide what are the next steps with respect to electing a new national chief. Last week I was in New York City. I went to the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. We were able to make an intervention and make a presentation to the forum on Thursday, May 22nd, which was quite successful. It was very well received. We talked about our lands negotiations and how the comprehensive and specific claims policies are not good for us because they're only based on the extinguishment of rights. We talked about how Canada just wants to put out take it or leave it offers, And we also talked about how the Canadian government continuing to impose legislation on us without our free, prior, and informed consent, which is one of the articles included within the UN Declaration. We were fortunate in being able to make that intervention, and I want to thank Grand Chief Ed John, who is North America's representative on the Permanent Forum, and he's also the vice chair, as he assisted us in making sure that that intervention was made. So it's been the last couple of good weeks for Six Nations. We've certainly getting out there and promoting our community and getting our concerns and our issues heard by people that can maybe help us move things along. The Bill C-10, as I said, is still not had third reading. It's going to go to the Senate, and we're trying to get a meeting. I also would urge you to look on the YouTube, because the manufacturers did put together a small video on it. It's called Six Nations Trade Collective, I think it's under. And if you want to look at that, there's a good video which gives our side of C-10 and how important tobacco is to us, because it has created so much employment here in our community and so much wealth. And that's the message we want to take, we do take when we go up and meet with the senators. So if you get a chance, take a look at that video. On May 1st, I'll kind of backtrack a bit now. On May 1st, I did take part in a meeting with the Minister of Indian Affairs, Minister Bernard Valcourt, along with the Political Confederacy of the Chiefs of Ontario. And we spoke to him about Bill C-33, and at that time, mind you, this was before the National Chief had resigned, I had asked him if he was going to go ahead with this bill, even if the chiefs in the country rejected it, and he said he was. But after the National Chief resigned, we know that the government has put it on hold, and it will stay on hold, I guess, until after the Special Assembly tomorrow. We also talked to them about funding cuts that have been made to organizations. A lot of the PTOs, or provincial territory organizations, receive funding cuts. And the minister said to us that, well, those cuts were made because money was needed for First Nations. And at which point I told him that wasn't entirely true, because we were also cutting our band advisory services the same time as the PTOs were cut. As you know, our schools at Six Nations as well are all federal schools, and are still run by the Department of Indian Affairs. So I asked Minister Valcourt how this new bill would affect our schools, and his response was, well, we need to sit down and talk to Six Nations. And so I've written and asked for an official meeting with him, and at the same time gave him copies of our Global Solution Package, which outlines a solution to our land rights, and asked him to read it, because previously he had written to me and said it wasn't a practical solution. But I told him that it was, and if we wanted to talk about education, it could be covered if they would come back to the table and start negotiating our land rights. Just going back to some of the other issues, those are the main things going on right now with the national scene and the regional scene. So a lot of stuff going on. Again, as I said, I'll be going to Ottawa this week to continue on the work with respect to Bill C-3 and what we're going to do with the AFN. One of the things we are talking about is maybe restructuring it more so along the lines of true nations, as opposed to sitting there by regions. So I'll have more information on that as we come. Just as one of the things I think we may be asked to make a decision on, and I'm going to be talking to Council about in a little while, is when do we want to have the election for National Chief, or do we want to have an election? The annual General Assembly was scheduled to be held in Halifax in July, and I think one of the options on the table is that that be postponed until next year, or be cancelled for this year, and that a new assembly be held in September in Winnipeg, specifically for the purpose of electing a new National Chief. But we'll have more information on that, as I said, after the meeting tomorrow. Now I want to talk about some of the issues we're dealing with here at home. On the thermal treatment plant, I just want to reiterate that we have not yet purchased the Kearns disintegration system. We have a negotiation team in place who are still negotiating with him. There were requests to have the air tested, and I think the committee is talking about that. In the meantime, we're asking Kearns, who has already had that system tested, to please give us the results of those testing, and then we'll move forward from there. But once we get those results, we can pass them on to the community. While all of this is going on, I would really like to encourage community members to please recycle. I was down there a couple of hours one day while that system was working, and noticing the garbage that was in there, that half of that garbage is stuff that should be going to the recycle unit. So I'm encouraging people to please recycle, because we have a recycling unit being run by AW Recycling, who also does pickup at your house, and they're doing an excellent job. So I would encourage you and emphasize how important it is that we do recycling. On that system, I think, I'm hopeful that it will work, properly, and that we can move forward, because we cannot keep throwing garbage in the pits back there. It's just not possible. The pits are overflowing, and we just can't do that anymore. So we need to get a system in place, and if we can't go with this system, we may have to resort to having our garbage trucked away, which may incur a cost for people. And we don't want to see people starting to burn it in their backyards or throwing it in the garbage. So please bear with us as we move forward in this, because we do have the best interests of the community at heart and trying to look at our garbage problem. With respect to the CAS, I did receive notification from Leslie Brubaker, who is the chairperson of the Brant CAS, that the Native Services branch will be relocating back to Brantford as of June 30th, when their lease expires. They will be required to provide services to our community, as is their mandate, until we have achieved full child welfare designation, which may be another year. But we do expect full cooperation from them during that time. On the Birch lands, there is the lands is still in the name of the province of Ontario, and the Six Nations Farmers Association has been farming it for the last 4 or 5 years, and we have told them to continue to farm it, and we've written to the province of Ontario and strongly recommended that they enter into a lease with the farmers if they're not going to turn the land over to somebody right away. They have informed us that they will turn it back to the Six Nations community, and it is our position that the only legal body that they can legally turn it to is the Six Nations elected council, who would administer it on behalf of the community. The province hasn't taken that position yet, and now that they're in election mode, nothing will happen until after the new government is put in place. We're Pan Am activities we're going to start gearing up for. We are going to be doing some launches coming up in the next little while. We have some ambassadors in place, and one of them is Jesse Smith, who is a professional golfer. Some of you may remember he qualified for the US Open and the Canadian Open last year, and he is going to be one of our ambassadors for Pan Am activities. He is going to be in the community in middle of June, and I'm working with a couple of the schools to see if maybe we can get him out there to the schools to speak to the kids, give some motivational talks about the no bullying, the dangers of drugs and suicide. So look forward to having Jesse back here. I'm very proud of his accomplishments. We're also looking at One Acorn Miller to be one of our ambassadors. So we're working on Pan Am. We're trying to seek sponsors, because it's going to cost a lot for us to get the activities going. There's a lot of lacrosse activities going to be happening, and we want to do some cultural festivals with music and dance. It's getting down there because the Pan Am Games are in July 2015, so we really need to get moving on that. Kevin Sandy right now is the only person we have working on it. He is our Pan Am's coordinator, so we're also trying to secure dollars to get him some help. So it's going to be exciting, and I think with the new school year we'll kick off by getting the kids all hepped up about it, and then they can get everybody else in the community hepped up. So it's going to be an exciting time for us next year. With respect to policing, we were successful, I think I may have mentioned in the last one, in getting all of the clauses in the new multi-year policing agreement that we wanted. That policing agreement has been signed, and now we are assured that there will be our funding for our police services for the next 4 years. We were also able to access some extra money through various grants and programs to keep on our full complement of officers. Nevertheless, we're going to continue our efforts to try and secure more dollars for our policing services. On housing, Council recently took part in a housing workshop to review all of the current housing policies. Some of those policies have been rewritten and revised. They were old and outdated, and the staff are going to be organizing workshops for any community members who might be interested in coming in, particularly new homeowners. So if you have any questions or concerns, watch for the advertisement for those workshops. Roads, due to the recent floods on the Grand River, we have had major bank failure at the far west end of road number 151, which is 4th line, past Seneca Road and past Mohawk Road. That road will be closing from blue number 364, 4th line, to Bateman line at 4th line until further notice. It's very soft right down the center of the road, and I know we have concerns for the people that are living there, and we're looking at what we can do to help rectify that situation. I have also been approached by various community members about the speeding on our roads. So I ask everyone to please slow down and do not speed, particularly when school is in, particularly around the village. So, you know, and Chiefswood Road is, people are barreling down Chiefswood Road at far too fast of a speed. So please take care and please slow down, because people do live on that road. They have to cross the road to get their mail, and we don't want to see any accidents. So please take care. Also in the parking lot at the plaza, because there's always a situation people are driving too fast in the plaza. And also please pay attention to the handicap signs, because they are for people with the handicaps, because we have been getting complaints that people are using those handicap spots when they shouldn't. As you all know, we have gone through one of the harshest winters we have had in years, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the staff at Public Works, the director, Mike Montour, the roads crew, Kevin Sultan, his crew, the maintenance, and even the office staff for all their hard work this past winter and doing their best to keep the roads clear and keep the community safe. You know, their dedication and commitment to our community is sincerely appreciated, and I know that they did the best they could with the resources that we have available. I just want to make another reminder to the community that the water lines will need to be swabbed or cleaned now that we have the new water treatment plant. This will be done in the summer or fall, and may cause a disruption in water services at your home and at the truck fill station. So you may be asked to run your taps for some time, and once the contractor is selected to do this work and the schedule is established, we will send notices out to the community. Valves were also recently placed at Chiefswood Road and 6th Line, and I think that may have caused a short disruption services, so we appreciate your cooperation as we're going through these upgrades for our water system. Again, residency bylaw, Councillor Terry General is working on that. I think he has got some community members who have stepped up and are going to sit with him and look at what are we going to do with our residency bylaw. I think him and Councillor Dave Hill are still looking for people that might be interested in looking at, do we want to amend our election code? There have been a community engagement session, and I think there's another one upcoming on another economic development project that we could be involved with, and that's the Port Dover and Nanticoke Wind Project. I think there's another one coming up, and so if you have concerns, they'll be presenting the term sheet about what is on the table. Please come out and let us know what your concerns are, whether you approve or whether you don't. The Youth and Elders Center will be built between the arena and the community hall. We did hold a community meeting a few weeks ago to show the community what this new center would look like. We didn't get many people out, but if there is interest to take a look at it, we could probably schedule another session. I'm really looking forward to that. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic building, and it's expected that the construction will start soon with completion in September 2015. In addition, we're still looking at securing dollars for the library archival center, which will be built behind the Baptist Church, and we're also looking for funding for the roof at Woodland Cultural Center. So we do have many needs, and we've got a lot of work to do to try and secure dollars for these. With respect to the youth as well, Councillor Mark Hill is working with some youth in the community in an effort to establish a youth council. They held a meeting on May 8th, and they're moving ahead with looking at how they can encourage more youth to come out and give their input on what a youth council would be and how it would interact in our community. We also have a group of young people who are actively doing fundraising for the skateboard park. As you know, we did designate land for them, and they said they would raise their own money, so I'm trying to help them as well, raise as much money as they can. I know that they are doing a fundraising golf tournament on August 8th, so if you see them coming out and doing any of their fundraising, please give them their support, because they are a bunch of dedicated young kids who are, I'm very proud that they're going out and doing their own fundraising for this park. The fire hall, we had earlier received a $1 million down payment from Grand River Enterprises toward the design and construction of the new fire hall. They did commit $2 million. Tenders have now gone out with respect to the design of the new fire hall, and we hope to have a company chosen by the end of May who can begin this design. I want to promote also physical exercise in the community. On Good Friday, I took part in a 5K out with Team Diabetes. It was organized by Kathy and Gus Isaac and Brenda Montpleasant, who will be going with Team Diabetes to Peru in August. It was a fun day, and I would like to encourage more people to get involved with physical exercise. It'll make you feel good, and maybe help you lose some weight too. Also, Council is starting to recognize our community members and businesses for any successes they have, years in business, or any awards they receive. At a recent Council meeting, we recognized Crystal Miller, who is Crystal's Hair Care. She has been 5 years in business, and the reason we recognize Crystal is because she was recognized by the city of Brantford as where her business is located under Enterprise Brant. If there are other businesses in the community that people feel that we should recognize, we would certainly be happy to do that for years of service or for anything that they think they need. But if that information is provided to us, we'll certainly give them information. We can only give certificates or acknowledgements as the information is provided to us. We also presented an award to Keaton Sandy, who was the winner of the Grade 2 Spelling Bee for Six Nations New Credit. So if you are aware of any individuals or businesses out there that you feel that we should be acknowledging or at council, please let us know, because we certainly want to acknowledge the successes and achievements of all of our community members. Now, some of the meetings and speaking engagements I've attended since our last update is I did take part in the Accessibility Conference, which was held at the Community Hall in April. I also met with MDP MP Monique Taylor in Hamilton, and she is the child welfare critic. In April 24th, Phil Montour, Lonnie Bombery, and I traveled to the source of the grant up in Grey County, and we met with several mayors and councillors, and we gave them our global solution package on our land rights. We educated them on our land rights and also about our community and some of the issues we're dealing with. I'm pleased to say that when we left, they gave us a $1,000 donation that was given towards the Six Nations Food Bank, so we're most appreciative of that. I also took part in the Haglesville Secondary School Crime Stoppers Breakfast, and I've suggested to the police that maybe we should try and do our own Crime Stoppers Breakfast here in the community next year. I attended the Indian Defense League of America annual banquet. That is the group that is continuing the fight to protect our border crossing rights. I was also invited to speak to Catholic Women's League at St. Basil's Church in Brantford, which was a good session, because I am continuing to go out and speak wherever I can to get our message out there about our community and about our rights and what we wanted to do. I also attended a meeting with Justice Gethin Edward and Mayors Chris Field and Ron Eddy to talk about security at the courthouses in Brantford. We had a meet and greet with some of the new staff from the Ministry of Child and Youth Services, who came down to meet with us and the social services staff. I also talked to the Halton Catholic School Board, who were visiting Woodland Cultural Centre along with their students. There were about 70 members of the school board there, and my presentation was very well received. On May 1st, myself and councillors Melba Thomas, Helen Miller, and Sherry Lynn Hill-Pierce were invited to a women's event by Blake Castles and Graydon in Toronto, and Michelle Jean, the former Governor General, was the guest speaker. She gave an excellent speech, and at the beginning of her speech, she acknowledged Six Nations and myself and my colleagues that were there, so we thank her for that. We also had the opportunity to speak to her and to present questions to her in front of the 600 other women that were there, so I took the opportunity to talk about our call for an inquiry into the missing and murdered Aboriginal women. She was quite supportive of that, as I had a chance to speak to her after. Having a little bit of time, I rushed down to take part in the solo performance by Santi Smith on her Kahawi Dance Theatre, which was excellent. It was an awesome performance, and if you ever get the chance to see it, you should take it up. I also visited with the Aboriginal Ministries at their Native Peoples Retreat in Five Oaks in Paris. And earlier in May, we had the fundraiser for Councillor Ray Miracle, who's going through some difficulties right now. So that was very well received, and Ray was very appreciative of all the support that we were able to give him. We also went to Cayuga to meet with the New Credit Chief Brian Laforme and Haldeman Mayor Ken Hewitt. We're talking about hooking up water on first and second line. So the staff are going to continue to meet on that. The New Credit has a maximum capacity of water that they can achieve from Haldeman, and so they're not fulfilling that capacity. So we're going to have discussions with them to see if maybe we can tap into it for some of the people along that line. The Regional Director General of Indian Affairs was here on May 6th, and her name is Mauricette Howlett. That was the first time we've had to meet with her. The main focus of discussion was on the many funding cuts that we were faced with, and she really had no positive answers for us, because she said that most of the decisions are made at the headquarters level. I'm also aware of a number of issues and concerns that our teachers and principals have at the school system, and I'm setting up another special meeting with her just to talk about some of those concerns about the education system and how it's run here in our community. Some of the upcoming events, the First Nations Art Show was held at Woodland, or is on now. The opening reception was held at Woodland Cultural Center on May 7th or May 9th. The show is still on, so I encourage people to go up and take that in. We just finished our Community Awareness Week. We're actually, I think it finishes tomorrow. We had our awards banquet on Saturday. Wilmer General Memorial Award was given to Rita Montour for volunteerism, and Council's community treasures this year were Aaron Montour, who helped organize the Little NHL and the Founders Cup, Kurt and Glenn Stiers. Kurt, who owns the Rochester Nighthawks, and we wish them luck this weekend, and Glenn Stiers, who owns the Ohsweken Speedway. Both those guys have given so much back to the community. And Ginger Smith, who has been an all-around volunteer for many the teams and sports. So they were acknowledged at the awards banquet this year, along with some of the Duke of Ed kids and some of the young girls who have stepped up and really got on the right path with the help of Ontario Works. Bread and Cheese again this year was very successful. I think it was one of the biggest events we had. There was we figure about 20,000 people. Health Foundation just had their fundraising golf tournament this past weekend. As I said, I just got back from New York, and I'm on my way now to the AFN Special Assembly. And when I get back on Friday, I will be speaking at the Rotary Club in Brantford at lunch, again giving our message. And on Saturday, May 31st, I've been invited to be the reviewing officer for the cadets in Brant. So that's going to be interesting. I get up there and go around and review the cadets. And as part of my reviewing party, I've asked Bob Johnson and Johnny Bradley, who are both veterans, to accompany me. OFSA will be holding a lacrosse tournament, which is actually hosted by Hagersville Secondary School. It's an OFSA lacrosse tournament. It'll be held in our sports field on June 3rd and 4th. So do come out and watch some good lacrosse. The Tom Longboat Run is going to be on June 4th. I'm going to take part in that, or at least I'm going to try to. It's a 9-kilometer. And in the middle of June, there's going to be an All-Ontario Chiefs Conference in Toronto, June 9th, 10th, and 11th. And immediately following that will be the Ontario First Nations Limited Partnership Annual Meeting, which is on June 12th. And that is the body that deals with the gaming dollars that are distributed to all the First Nations in the community. So that's it for now. Lots of work has been done, lots of work still to do, and we'll keep on, and let's just all use our good minds as we carry forward. Nyawa.